Good morning. Welcome to today's gentle chair yoga practice. So sit comfortably on your chair, and I'm just going to talk to you for a moment about your hips. Hips are the biggest joint that you have in your body. It is a ball and socket joint. It's really important to keep it mobile with movement, because all the joints in the body, and this is our primary focus in these gentle yoga classes, is to keep all the joints moving, because there is no blood flow into your joints. Every joint has something called synovial fluid and a synovial sac. For example, your knee. So the synovial sac encompasses your knee, holds the fluid in place, and keeps your joint from wear and tear. In other words, bone on bone. It keeps your joint fluid. Because there is no blood flow, it means there is no circulation through your joints. The only way you can move the fluid through your joints is through moving your body. Now, the hips, being the biggest joints in the body, you've got your femur that comes into your pelvis. Now, hips can be tricky because literally every step you take, you're using your hips. They can become tight. And when hips become tight, it creates a little pressure on something called your bursa, which is the sac of fluid that cushions the bones. Not every joint has a bursa sac, but every joint has synovial fluid. Now, your hip has two bursas. There's one that is at the top of your femur to cushion your hip to your pelvis. And then there is one in the pelvis to cushion the sacrum, the back of your hip, right here against the spine. So it's the iliopsoas bursa. Bursitis is when the sac that cushions your joint, the bursa, becomes inflamed. And when hips become tight, tendons shorten, ligaments shorten, become less pliable, it can create pressure on the bursa, which creates bursitis. Same thing can happen in your shoulder. The second largest joint, ball and socket, with another big bursa sac right in there to cushion the upper arm bone into the shoulder, right? The ball is your upper arm bone and the socket is your shoulder. So with all that information, today we are going to work at stretching the hips and, of course, bringing movement into every joint in the body. All you need is your chair, and we're ready to go. All right. Sit comfortably. Find the spot where your feet rest comfortably on the floor, and you can really relax the legs and relax the hips. Try not to brace at the hips. Hands on your thighs, palms up, palms down, it doesn't matter which. When you feel comfortable, fully supported by the chair, under your thighs and behind the shoulders, go ahead and close your eyes. Deepen your breath. Notice how every time we do this little ritual, the moment you close your eyes, all of a sudden you feel your whole body just begins to come into tune with itself. You notice how you're feeling. You know you're about to do something good just for you for the next little while. Ready for your gentle chair yoga practice. The breath deepens. Your whole body softens. With your eyes closed and all your attention, your focus on how you are feeling physically, take another scan of your body. Relax the shoulders, soften the hips. Let the backs of your thighs sink into the seat of the chair. Soles of the feet feel heavier on the floor. Now intentionally deepen your breath. And use the exhalation just to flush clean all the joints in your body. Feel your breath radiating outwards, radiating out from the belly, out to the shoulders, arms, fingertips, into the belly, deep breath, radiating out, down through the legs, clearing out the hips, down the legs, soles of the feet. Do that again. One more deep breath. Keep the backs of your shoulders connected to the back of the chair. And slowly drop your chin down towards your chest. Feel a slow, gentle stretch reaching down the back of the neck and out through the shoulders. Now gently roll your head over towards your right shoulder and just pause there. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, make both shoulders feel really heavy. Exaggerate the feeling of the shoulders dropping down towards the floor, away from your ears. Feel the long stretch on the left side of your neck. Roll your head forward, chin to chest. Pause here for a breath. Really let your head feel heavy and relax your jaw. Roll over to your left shoulder. Left ear comes toward your shoulder, doesn't need to touch. A breath in, and as you exhale, both shoulders feeling really heavy as they sink to the floor. Feeling the long stretch on the right side of your neck. Rolling to center, chin to chest position. Now this time, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Do that 2 more times. Lift your chin slowly away from your chest until you feel your ears perfectly balanced over top of your shoulders. Now scoop forward in your chair. Come to the front of your chair so you're sitting tall. Hands on your knees for support, and just wiggle your toes. Give them some curls, squeezing them tight and spreading them wide. And just alternate, lifting your heels away from the mat, away from the floor, getting a good bend into the balls of the big toes. All the toes, not just the big toe, but the baby toe as well. You might even lift a little out to the side, but keep all the toes connected to the floor. Try not to lift through the ball of the big toe or to lift through the ball of the baby toe. Notice we're getting a little bit of movement into the hip here, just a little. Now just reaching behind your thigh. Let's reach behind the right thigh. And just pull, lean back until your right foot is floating off the mat, and just rotate. Just let your leg rest heavily in the back of your hand. Let the back of your thigh rest heavily in the palms of your hands. You might even feel a little bit of a stretch into your shoulders. And then rotate the other way. Right ankle. And then just a little bit of movement into the knee. Don't be surprised if you feel a crack or two. The knee only goes forwards and backwards. Nothing more than that. Let your right leg feel heavy. Draw your chin towards your chest. So tuck your chin in. Doesn't have to come to your chest, just enough to deepen the stretch in the shoulders and the back of the neck. Now, if you can, if you're up for increasing the intensity, you can do two things. First thing, draw your chin in a little tighter. Second thing you can add is push your thigh into your hands to put a little more pull on the shoulders. Going slowly. And just be aware whether or not you're holding your breath. If you're holding your breath, reconnect and breathe. Now, lift your chin, sitting tall once again. Release your hands from the back of your thigh. Reaching now for the left thigh. Hands reach under. Weave your fingers together. So coming far enough forward, you can weave your fingers behind your thigh. Get good support there. Now lean back just enough to float your left foot off the mat. Rotate through your left ankle. You can already feel the stretch in the shoulders. It's a good stretch. Trapezius muscle can get very tight. That's the muscle that goes from the back of the neck out to your shoulders. Rotate the other way with your left ankle. And now just a little movement into the knee. Get the synovial fluid moving. It's got the consistency of egg whites. So you can understand how it can become stiff or perhaps crystallize. Wear and tear on the body. More miles you have on it, the trickier it can be to keep it moving. All right, let your leg feel heavy. Relax your left foot, left ankle. Just really feel the whole weight of your leg pulling at your arms. Arms pulling at your shoulders. You can feel the initial stretch there in the back of the neck and the tops of the shoulders. Slowly draw your chin towards your chest. Pause for a breath. Feel the sense of the intensity. Is it a deep stretch? Is it an okay stretch? Decide if you want to go deeper. You have two options to go deeper. Tucking your chin closer towards your chest and pressing the back of your left thigh into your hands. Only doing these two things, or one or the other, until you feel an increase in intensity. Remember, it needs to be bearable, not painful. The comfortable uncomfortableness of moving your body, being healthy, pushing your edge. Breathe. Lift your chin. Release your hands. Left foot comes down to the mat. Coming forward. Feet comfortably apart. Hands to your knees. Just take a breath in. And as you exhale, fold over your thighs. Just leaning far enough forward to feel your belly and rib cage connect to your thighs. A little bit of stretch in the lower back. Press up with your breath in. Exhale, coming back down. Just gently bringing movement to the hip joints. As you inhale, press up. One more. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, pressing up. All right, so sitting tall, continuing to sit at the front of your chair, feet solid on the floor, hip distance apart. Let's bring some movement into the hands. Oh, my fingers crack. Yep, wiggle your fingers really well, really fast. Open and close. And then stretch wide and gently close. Maximum range of motion in the hands. Now rotate through the wrists. Go the other way. Now just forward and back. Really push with the heel of the hand and reach with the fingertips. Kind of reach for your elbow. Now let's gently just deepen this stretch. Right hand forward, fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling. Left hand reaches for your fingertips and just a gentle pull back as you push the heel of the hand forward. Just very gently. Excellent exercise here for carpal tunnel. You have another bursa in your wrist joint. Yes. It's much smaller, of course, than the one in your hip, or the two that you have in your hips, or the one in your shoulders. Now, fingers to the floor, pointing downwards. My left hand grabbing my fingers, and just a gentle pull, pulling my fingers towards my elbow, just enough to feel the stretch into the top of the wrist and the back of your hand here. I actually feel that stretch all the way into my forearm. Whew, my arms are tight. All right, switching hands. Left hand points down, fingertips pointing towards the floor. Right hand reaches for the let's do it the other way. Fingertips pointing upwards. Right hand reaches for the fingertips and just pull the hands back. Push the heel of the hand forward, pulling the fingers back. If you're holding your breath, it probably means you're too deep into the stretch. Just pulling the fingers back far enough to feel the stretch into the bottom of the wrist and the heel of the hand. Going the other way, fingertips pointing towards the floor. Right hand reaches for your fingertips, just kind of gently cupping your knuckles. Just gently pull your fingers towards your elbow until you feel the stretch on the top of your wrist and your lower arm. And then release. All right, shaking out your hands at the same time, little bend into the elbows. Elbows forward and back. There we go. All right, now rolling through the shoulders. Really think about maximum movement of your shoulder blades, pulling your shoulder blades all the way into your spine and then pulling them as far apart as you can by rounding through the back and bringing the elbows forward. So by keeping the elbows bent here, you actually get a larger range of motion into the shoulders. Once you lengthen the arms, the biceps start to pull on the shoulder joint. Go the other way. All right, reach your hands forward, palms out. Just rotate the hands in. So rotating the whole arm, getting into the shoulders a little bit more, and rotate all the way out. All the way in. Notice how it rotates through the whole arm and all the way out. I want you to notice this movement, the arms into the shoulders, because we're going to compare that to the legs and the hips. So notice when you rotate your hands and move as a whole unit, you're not stressing the elbow joint. The stress goes to the shoulder. And shake that out. All right, here we go, one leg at a time. So bring your hands to the seat of the chair for support. Right foot goes forward. Put a little bend in your knee. Now working into the hip joint here. You're going to rotate right foot all the way out to the right. Notice how your hip opens. And then rotate all the way to the left. See if you can get the ball of your big toe to the floor. All the way out to the right. Rotating through the hip joint, not the knee. The leg works as a whole here. So when you're turning the leg, you're using the biggest joint, which is the hip. When you're turning the arms, you're using the biggest joint, which is the shoulder. There we go. Let's switch legs. So left leg out, just rest on the heel, a little bend in your knee. Now turn all the way to the left. Just spread your toes slightly to keep your ankle solid, so you're not rolling into your ankle. Then turning all the way to the right. Oh, I can feel that in the outside of my hip. I didn't feel it on the right side, but I can feel it on the left side. Just go mindfully and slowly, just so you can feel the change. Notice how the work switches from the inner thigh, the adductor, to the outer thigh, the abductor. Last one, rolling all the way to the right and back to center. All right, let's stretch out the front of the hip flexors, also key for hip health, keeping the hip flexors long and pliable. So I'm going to walk my feet all the way to the left side of my chair. Using the back of the chair for support, my left arm is resting on the back of the chair. I'm going to take my right leg, I'm kind of half off the chair, so my right hip, the right hip here sits so that the right hip is off the chair. And just slide your right foot back. Let your knee drop straight down. So your knee is under your hip, directly under your shoulder. If you can, curl your right toes under and push into the mat with the ball of the right big toe to deepen the stretch in the front of your hip. You might not need to do that. You might be okay just holding the position steady. If it's too intense to have your toes curl under, just let the top of your foot rest on the floor and your leg hang heavy. Shoulder stays in line with the hip. Adjust the intensity after a couple of breaths if the intensity lessens. So by curling the toes under, pushing into the mat with the ball of the big toe. The second way that you can increase intensity is to pull the shoulder back and bring your gaze upwards, right? Lengthening the whole front of the body. Breathe through the stretch. Your body needs to breathe. That helps the blood circulate. It feeds your cells, helps the cells regenerate, right? Because the heart pumps the blood throughout the body. The blood regenerates the cells. So everything begins with the breath. And release. Walk your feet all the way around to the other side of the chair. Hello. My right hand is on the back of the chair. Front hip is off the chair. Slide left foot back. Knee underneath the hip underneath the shoulder. Using the back of the chair for support so you don't fall off, of course. If it's too intense to have the toes curled under, uncurl your toes and just rest on the top of your foot. Take a breath here. If you want to deepen the stretch, increasing the intensity if you can, remember, playing with that comfortable uncomfortableness. Push into the mat with the balls of your toes on your left foot. Feel the stretch deepen in the front of the thigh, the front of your hip. And then to deepen even more, second stage of deepening the stretch is to bring the gaze upward and pull the shoulder behind the hip. Breathe. And release. All right. sitting at the front of your chair. You're going to reach for your right foot and just lift it up. Wiggle your left foot towards the center. Bring your right foot, right ankle, the outside of your ankle, to the outside of your left knee. So they're kind of together. Now pulling right knee so it points up towards the ceiling as much as possible. This is where you start to feel the stretch into the outside of the hip now. This creates space for the bursa on the outside of the femur bone, the greater trochanter. Use your hands to hold your knee. Sit tall. Really feel yourself lifting tall through the spine. Soften through the hips and drop, lengthen through the right hip. Just let it feel heavy so you can feel equal pressure on both hips resting in the seat of the chair. This is easier to determine if you're sitting on a harder chair. If you're sitting on a really soft, cushy chair, it's a little harder to feel if your hips are equally weighted. Breathe. Remember to soften the hips. Try not to clench. Just so all the strength is in your hands and arms here. Now as you exhale, relax your grip. Feel your whole body soften. Feel your knee, your right knee start to fall away. So use the support of your right hand and let your right knee fall as far as it wants to. Spread your toes on your right foot. Really engage the ankle so the ankle stays strong. Just left hand reaches for your right ankle. Hold it in place. Relax right leg and just rest your right arm on your right leg. Now take a moment here. Just notice how this feels. Because we're going to revisit the stretch. We're going to do a bunch more stretches. Yay. And then we'll revisit this stretch and we'll see how you feel. Now release. So just support your right leg as you bring your right foot back to the floor. Reach for your left. Hold the back of your thigh, pick it up. Reach for your ankle. Right foot comes to the center. Just wiggle it to the center. Left ankle, outside of the ankle comes to the outside of your right knee. Left hand holding your left knee. Weave your fingers together. Hold your left knee so it's pointing up towards the ceiling as close as you can get it. This is where you start to feel the stretch on the outer left thigh, outer left hip. Keep that. Sit tall. Oh, now I feel the weight in the sit bones. Bring your awareness to the sit bones, the back of the hips, and sink the left hip down until you feel equal weight on both sides. Just an awareness. So you know you're not leaning all the way to the left or leaning to the right to minimize the intensity on the left. Oh yeah, we can be sneaky. The human body does not like discomfort. So it takes mindfulness to create change. Take one more breath. And as you exhale, release. Just soften, release your grip. Feel left leg getting heavy, left knee beginning to press into your left hand. So right hand reaches for your left ankle. Hold it in place on top of your left knee. Hold it in place on top of your right knee. Let your left knee just fall wide. Stay as tall as you can. Let the left knee fall open as much as it wants to. Nothing more than that. Spread your toes on your left foot to stabilize your ankle. Right hand is holding your left ankle in place on top of your right knee. Let your left hand just use the weight of your left arm to deepen the intensity in the left hip. Just let your left arm rest heavily on your left leg. Again, notice how this feels. Focus on relaxing through the hip. Notice if it's taking more than one breath to release the hip. And by that I mean, is there a habit there of holding on to the hip joint internally, kind of bracing yourself? I have a habit of holding on to my right hip. So it takes a couple of breaths, yep, sometimes 3 or 4, to just soften and realize that I'm no longer clenching the muscle and holding my right hip really tightly. Right? We set all these patterns in times of stress, intensity. We need these moments of mindfulness to let them go. All right, let's support left leg. Just slowly bring your left foot back to the floor. There we go. All right, let's bring your feet wide and just wiggle, move through the hips. Just rock onto the outside and inside edges of your feet. Just feel a little bit of loosening there. Let's come to standing. So today, have your chair sideways to you, because I want you to be able to reach for the back of the chair for stability if you need it. All right, standing a comfortable distance from your chair. Let's start with just a forward fold. So let's inhale, sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, bow forward. Hands to the seat of the chair. It's a little tricky here. It all depends on what style of chair you have. But you probably need your hands in the very center of your chair. Shoulders over top of your wrists. And just take a moment here as you inhale, lift the eyes up forward. Really let the lower back sway. And just hold on to that. A couple of breaths. Just feel the broadening across the lower back, the back of the hips. Now just change your breath pattern here. Normally we let go on the exhalation, but here with the deep sway in the back, I want you to let go on the inhalation. So really expand through the belly and release the lower belly as you breathe in. And exhale, pull the belly in towards the spine and kind of squeeze your rib cage. Breathe in, let go of the belly, let it all hang out. Exhale, squeezing in. One more time. Breath in, let it all hang out. Breath out, squeezing in. Drop your eyes down to your fingertips. Shift your weight a little into the mounds of the palms, right? Just underneath your fingers, so that you can take the weight off your feet and walk your feet wide. Shift back. Adjust the placement of your hands so you can feel the weight in your feet, equally balanced front and back, not all in your heels. A little bend in the back of the knees, looking straight down at the seat of your chair. Get a sense that your ears are in line with your shoulders. Bend your left knee. Lengthen the right. Now pull the right hip back just until you feel a stretch into the right side. Now the right side can be the right hip, the back of the right leg, even the side of your body, from your armpit to your hip. You might feel it in all 3 places. Maybe you don't feel it anywhere at all. If you can't feel it at all, wow, awesome. Breathe. Now come back to center. Bend the right knee. So now there's equal softness in both knees. Take a breath. And as you exhale, bend the right knee, lengthen the left. Feel the stretch. The stretch here, in this stretch particularly, is kind of from your hip to the back of your femur, your upper thigh. Now give your left hip a little pull back. Feel the hip pull away from your rib cage. The right knee bends just a tiny bit more. Intensity increases on the left side. Now shift the weight back to center, equal bend on both knees. Shift your weight out of your hands, sink your weight into your heels. Press with the balls of the toes so you can feel your feet active. Now let's just sweep all the way out and release all the way down. Walk your feet back to center. Reaching for the back of the chair. I've got the chair under my right hand. I'm going to shift my weight into the right leg, lift my left foot up onto the chair, the seat of the chair. Toes up at the far side. So standing tall, you've got the chair for support here. Left hand on your knee. Take a breath. And as you exhale, just bow forward. Use the support of the back of the chair, left hand on your knee. Think about bringing your rib cage and belly to your inner thigh, not on top of your thigh. Just look beyond the seat of the chair down towards the floor. Again, keeping your ears in line with your shoulders. So we're getting all kinds of interesting sensations across the lower back here, the back of the hip, into the left buttock. Press up. Now feel really steady on your feet here. You might want to widen your stance slightly. So bringing your left foot over towards the front of the chair and solid on your right foot. Now I'm hoping you feel confident enough that you can let go of the back of the chair with your right hand and bring your right hand over top of your left knee. Left hand comes to your hip. Just place your hand on the back of your hip so your fingers are pointing down towards the floor. Now take a breath, pause here, just be stable. And as you exhale, think about just rolling the left shoulder back, feeling a little bit of rotation through the shoulders and the rib cage. Now steady yourself with your feet. Really bring your awareness to the soles of your feet. Take another breath. And as you exhale, just turn to the left, rotating a little more deeply through the shoulders, through the rib cage, using your left hand on your hip to really rotate and open through the upper body. Now find something to hold your gaze on the left side. That will help steady you. Breathe, connect to your breath. Steady yourself with your breath. As the breath steadies, so do you. Now you can deepen the stretch here two ways. The first way is to use your right hand on your knee. Always use an exhalation to come into and out of a twist. So take the breath into the belly, and as you exhale, deepen the twist. Just use your right hand on your knee to rotate a little more deeply. Second way to deepen this twist, take a breath. And as you exhale, now you have to adjust your gaze. That's the tricky part. That one really challenges your balance, but opens up the twist so much more. Breathe. This one's tough. If you feel like you need to grab the back of the chair, go ahead and grab the back of the chair. Because if you're tense, if you're worried, if you're scared, your hips will tighten up. We don't want that. Take one more breath. Now use the exhalation to completely release the twist. Bring your hand to the back of the chair for support as you completely let it go. Now slide your left heel to the far side of the chair. A little bit of a bend in the back of your knee. Take a breath, reach up with the left arm. And as you exhale, bow forward. Oh, let your left hand land wherever it wants to land. If it lands on your thigh, your shin, the chair, wherever it wants to land, let it land there. Keep your eyes on your left big toe. Breathe. That's a good stretch. Press up. Use your left hand and your right hand for support to bring yourself all the way up. Now slide your left foot off the chair. Feet hip distance apart. Just take a moment here. So that standing leg, the right leg, had to work pretty hard there. Whew. Let's stretch out the right hip. So keeping the right foot in place. Right hand on the seat of your chair. Left hand on your hip. Step, left foot back. Just a regular walking step. Push all the way down onto your left heel. Lengthen the right leg. Still leaning forward just enough to hold on to the back of the chair for support. Take a breath. Both legs really long here. Minimize the bend in your knee, only softness. And with the exhalation, bow forward. There's the seat of the chair. There's the back of the chair. Relax the hips. As you come into your forward fold, if you feel like your left hand can reach for the seat of the chair, go ahead and do that. Equal weight on both feet. Notice if you're leaning to the right side. Shift your weight equally into the left side. So both feet feel like the weight is equally divided. Feel the stretch into the right hip. Now again, we've got two options to deepen the stretch on the right side. Shift your hand from the back of the chair to the seat of the chair. Deepen the forward fold. And the second way is to give the right hip just a gentle pull back, just until you feel your inner thighs squeeze in towards each other. Now coming out the same way we went in. Right hand comes to the back of the chair. Use both hands to press up. Left hand returns to your hip. Bend your right knee and step forward. And release. All right, now turning your chair the other way so that now it will support your left hip. I'm just going to turn to the other side so you can see the whole time. So left hand on the chair this time, standing a comfortable distance away from the chair. You take the right foot, bring it up to the seat of the chair. You can even reach for your thigh and bring your foot to the chair. Bring your toes to the far side of the chair. Try and level out your stance so you don't feel yourself leaning really far over to the left side. You want your weight perfectly balanced over your left foot, left ankle, so that there's really minimal weight in your left hand. It's just there on the chair to keep you steady rather than weight bearing. Right hand on your knee, left hand on the back of the chair. Take a breath. And as you exhale, bow forward. Think about bringing the outside of your right rib cage, belly, to the inside of your right thigh. Look beyond the edge of your mat, beyond the chair, to the floor in front of you. Ears in line with the shoulders. And press up. Use your hands for support. Now slide your heel No, that's not what we want to do. Yeah, let's do that. Let's slide your right heel away, bringing the right leg long. Left hand on the back of the chair, right hand sweeps out. And as you exhale, bow forward. Let your right hand land wherever it wants to land. Feel a long stretch in the back of the right leg, right hip. Yeah, that's a good stretch. Now press up. Bending your right knee, sole of the right foot completely on the floor. Steady enough here. Left hand comes to the top of your right knee. Right hand comes to the back of your hip. Take a breath. And as you exhale, roll the right shoulder back. Steady on your feet, remembering not to lean all the way to the left. Take another breath. And as you exhale, rotate a little more deeply through the shoulders, turning to the right. Feeling the rotation through the rib cage. Find a spot on the wall to hold your gaze. That will help steady you. Take another breath. And as you exhale, choose to deepen or not. First, using your left hand on your outer thigh to deepen the twist. And then again, as you exhale, rotating, turning your head to look over your shoulder. Remember, that one's the trickiest. Make sure you're breathing. Now slowly exhale, release the twist, coming all the way back to center. Feel your left hand going to the back of the chair, right hand returning to your knee. Now slide your right foot off the chair. Bring your feet hip distance apart. Release the chair and just sweep your arms up. And as you exhale, bow forward. Bring your hands to the seat of the chair. Revisiting this stretch we did before, but feet aren't as far apart this time. Remember, they were as wide as the mat before. So take a breath. And as you exhale, left knee bends, right leg lengthens. Give the right hip a little pull back. Feel the upper body lengthen between the hip and the rib cage. Careful not to overextend through the right knee. You can keep the right knee a little bit soft just for safety there. Now bring the weight back to center. Level out the bend in both knees so your hips feel square and level. Take a breath. And as you exhale, right knee bends, left leg lengthens, left hip pulls back just slightly. Keeping a tiny bit of softness behind the left knee to keep the knee joint safe. Level out the hips by equaling the bend in both knees. Shift your weight out of your hands. Release your hands, sweep out and up, and release. Standing comfortably to the side of your chair. Left hand on the back of the chair, right hand on your hip. Step your right foot. No. Left foot back this time. Left foot steps back. Regular walking step. Push all the way onto your heel. Keep the shoulders slightly forward so you can maintain a grip on the chair. Both heels pressing down, toes pointing forwards. Take a breath. And as you exhale, just slowly lean into the chair back. Bend the left elbow. Deepen your forward fold. Now, as you come into your forward fold, if you feel like your right hand can rest on the chair, go ahead and release it from your hip. Pause. Keep your eyes beyond the seat of the chair. Look to the floor in front of you. Not at your toes, not at your fingertips, not at the chair. Now you can deepen this pose by bowing more deeply. Second way to deepen it, give the right hip a little pull back. A little softness through the lower back deepens the intensity in the back of the right leg, right hip. Now coming out the same way we went in. Use your hands for support. Push into the chair. Feel the upper body lift up. Right hand comes back to your hip. Bend your right knee. Step forward. And release. Let's come back to sitting. Yeah, we're getting ready to revisit that hip stretch we did before. So sitting at the front of your chair, so your feet are really firmly grounded on the floor. Sitting tall. Let's take a moment here. Breathe. Bring your feet a little bit wider, almost as wide as the chair, nothing more than that. Hands to your knees. Take a breath. And as you exhale, bow forward. Let your belly and rib cage rest on your thighs, hands resting on the tops of your knees. Now lift your eyes, look way in front of you. Pull your chin away from your chest. Relax the shoulders. Try not to crank too much through the back of the neck. Think about softening through the back of the hips and the lower back. Just breathe. Press up. Use your hands on your knees to press yourself all the way up. Walk your feet in towards each other until your feet are touching. Your hands reach between your thighs. Clasp your hands, reach behind your right thigh, and just lift your right foot off the floor. Bring your right ankle to the outside of your left knee. Wiggle your left foot towards the center a little bit more. That will help facilitate it. Spread your toes on your right foot. Hands reach for your right knee. Both hands clasped, holding the right knee so your knee is pointing up towards the ceiling as much as possible. Sit tall. Use your hands to lift and lengthen through the upper body, soften through the shoulders. Take a breath, and with your exhalation, sink your hip down into the seat of the chair. Right hip sinks down. You can feel the lengthening in the back of your right thigh. Left hand holds the front of your knee. Right hand comes to the seat of the chair beside your right hip. Take a breath. Yeah, we're going to do a twist. We're taking the stretch a little deeper. As you exhale, turn. Use your left hand on your knee as you turn to the right, just rotating through the rib cage and shoulders. Pause here. Find something to hold your gaze. Use your right hand, right arm to keep the upper body long and tall. Try not to slouch. Now, as you exhale, again, sink through the right hip. Relax through the whole right leg, right hip joint. Let your left arm, left shoulder do the work here. One more breath. As you exhale, release, coming back to center. Left hand comes to the outside of your knee. Relax the left leg. Let your left knee fall into your left hand. Right hand. Left hand reaches for your right ankle. Spread your toes on your right foot. Right arm to the top of your right thigh, inner knee. Take a breath. As you exhale, just relax the left side, right hip, right thigh. Just notice how this feels. Notice where you are. Notice if your body has changed at all after the deep stretches that we just did. If you feel like you can go deeper, if you notice that your right knee is a little more open than it was before, just hinge forward. Use your exhalation to bring your heart forward. Rather than rounding through the spine, think about just pushing the sternum forward. You feel the intensity there? Remember, your toes are spread on your right foot to keep the right ankle stabilized. You can go as far forward as you choose, or stay where you are. Keep your gaze in front of you. And then just slowly bring yourself all the way out by sitting tall first, returning to the tall position, then supporting your right foot as you bring your right foot back to the floor. Reach behind your left thigh. Just lift your left thigh up. Reach for your left ankle. Bring your left ankle to the outside of your right knee. Wiggle your right foot to center if you feel like it needs to move. Spread your toes on your left foot. Hands clasped to the front of your left knee. Use your hands to lift your body tall. And as you exhale, sink your hip down into the mat, into the seat of the chair, pardon me. Feeling the stretch into the hip. This is enough for you. That's fine. If you want to go deeper, if you feel you can go deeper, not just what you want, but how you feel, what messages your body is sending you. Right hand holds the front of your knee. Left hand comes to the seat of the chair. Use your left arm to support the upper body and staying tall. Take a breath. And as you exhale, turn to the left, rotating through the shoulders, the rib cage. Using your right hand on your knee to really pull yourself into the twist. Now breathe in, and with the exhalation, focus on softening through the whole left leg, left hip. It's no good if you're holding on tight and bracing yourself. You're not stretching anything. Might take a couple of breaths. Relax and soften through the whole left leg, left hip. Deep breath in. And as you exhale, release, coming back to center. Relax your left knee. Let your left knee fall into your left hand. Feel the left leg getting heavy, falling open. Right hand reaches for your left ankle. Hold your left ankle over top of your right knee. Hold it in place. Spread your toes on your left foot. Left arm just rests heavily on your thigh. Let the weight of your arm help you open up through the left side. Breathe. And if you feel like you can go deeper, if you can go deeper, same thing. It's not just about what you want, but the messages your body is sending you. Take a breath. Exhale, relax to the hips and just hinge forward. Just shifting the shoulders forward of the hips until you feel the intensity increase into the outer left thigh, left hip. A couple of breaths. You can go deeper if you choose. Just going slowly enough so that you don't find yourself in that, uh-oh, I think I went too far position. That's not what we want. Keep your toes spread on your left foot to keep the ankle stabilized. With your next breath in, Just slowly bring yourself up. Support your left leg as you bring your left foot all the way back down to the mat. A little bit of movement into the hips. Just swaying them from side to side. And then let's sit back in the chair, all the way back. Hands on your thighs. Lean back into the support of the chair. Let the backs of the legs, backs of the thighs release down into the seat of the chair. Close your eyes. Breathe. A little visualization today for our final few breaths here in our yoga practice. Think about drawing your breath deep into the belly, into the core of the pelvis. Just get that visualization first. As you inhale, just fill the core of the pelvis with your breath. Really relax the belly with your inhalation, and as you exhale, just squeeze it out. Feel the belly button draw in, the rib cage squeeze. Do that again. Big belly with the breath in. Really loose through the whole pelvic floor, and then exhale, squeeze in. Now extend the visualization a little bit more. As you inhale, relax the belly, expand. And as you exhale, think about sending your breath to your hips, reaching through the pelvis and into the upper thigh bone. Relax the hips with every breath out. Relax the belly with every breath in. Now let go of control of your breath. And just focus on seeing all the muscle fibers, the ligaments and the tendons, just releasing from the hip, like an elastic, slowly getting loose and letting go. Starting with the head of your thigh bone. Visualizing some softness into the hip joint itself. And traveling a little closer now towards the spine, feeling the back of the hips on each side. Soften, same thing, ligaments, tendons, letting go, because you've got ligaments and tendons that brace the joint and brace the muscles. Feel all the pressure on the bursas in the hips. Soften, minimize. Visualize these perfect orbs of fluid and energy at the top of the femur bones and then between the hip and the sacrum. Bring your arms to your sides. As you inhale, sweep your arms all the way out and up until your hands come together overhead. Let your hands float down, palm pressing to palm. Pausing here, taking a moment to be grateful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be loved. May all beings be at peace. Thank you very much for joining me today. Namaste.